take Reynor out in that kind of way. For some reason, he can just smash everything down just because his mechanics are so good. Anyhow, speaking of the man, spawning over in the bottom right-hand side, playing for Team Clash, it is Reynor.
And up here at the top left-hand side of the map, we have the red Terran player. He is Ziggy. I totally agree with exactly what you're saying, though, Ben. Like, it's actually a really good way of putting it, is that it feels like Reynor just out-mechanically skills his opponents. And it's like the most frustrating feeling in the world, right? Because I'm sure you felt this way as a competitor, where you come into a series and you have a game plan, and then you just don't even get to execute on it because, something goes horribly wrong before that. I feel like that's what it must be like playing against players like Reynor a lot of the time.
That was basically my career, Avi. And speaking of Reapers, by the way, Ziggy over here, he is doing exactly what I pointed out. Quite a lot of cheesy players. I'll use Bly as a decent-ish example. They have cheeses, even though you could be like, oh my god, there's so many cheeses to choose from. These guys will have their go-to cheeses, and it'll be like, okay, what's this map good for? This being very similar to Frozen back in the day, where it's like, oh yeah, Reapers are great on this, and this just, it's so obvious, even though it's not an obvious strat. And we do see that Reynor, he actually opted for pool first this game as well, so his hatcheries later. So I think that he also knows what Ziggy's going to be doing before Ziggy even knew.
Okay, well, Reapers definitely have a lot of micro potential in this kind of matchup and in this situation and try and get some damage done, but it is definitely about that Reaper retention in the earlier stages. You need to keep those Reapers alive. You need to have sustained pressure there, especially on a map as small as Submarine, because if you start losing those Reapers, there's not a lot of travel time between your opponent doing that counter backswing on you.
I'm interested in how Ziggy's going to try and make this one work, because he's going to be against super duper fast speedlings. He sees that this hatchery is late. We do see how committed it is as well. It's not just like 2 barracks in the wall and then expanding straight behind. It's 3 racks. So, and honestly, this strategy, like Reynor being very good at micro and control, and especially Ling control, it is interesting that Ziggy chose this strat of all strats to go up against him.
Yeah, so Ben, I have a question for you. When we see these 3Rex Reapers, and we see them occasionally now, but not that often, I feel like it's gone through so many different phases in the meta of how Zergs like to respond. I mean, we've seen way back in the days, you have to build a Roach Warren, and then it was no, you can just defend on pure speedling. We feel like things kind of settled. We do actually see a lot of these Reapers almost getting surrounded. I have to say, Ziggy doing an excellent job with his control. He does lose 1, but kills quite a few Lings there.
Yeah, definitely some nice juggling by him. Honestly, ever since the grenade got nerfed in a multitude of ways that it did, be it a longer cooldown, less damage, you name it. Even the Reaper, I think, got made to be produced slower, if I recall correctly. But honestly, there's so many ways to deal with it. People went for Roach Ravager options. The Massling option is very, very viable now. I remember TLO one time, he was like, you know what? I'm going to load up an Overlord with Banelings to drop on the Reapers. Oh, this is a nice little catch. But yeah, losing a Reaper, even though he got 5 Lings, and losing a second Reaper just now, this is already a decent start for Reynor.
Yeah, I love that extra little thing of just leaving those Lings on the other side of the map, like you were saying, catching the reinforcements. It's just that extra little thing of speed that we were talking about, where Reynor is saying, okay, you have to both control your Reapers that are trying to be aggressive, but you also have to control the reinforcements as soon as they pop out of that barracks on a different side of the map. Because if you aren't paying attention to both of them, you're gonna start bleeding out Reapers, and that's just not acceptable with this kind of play.
Yeah, and Reynor, he's actually taken up to Lair on 2 bases here. Ziggy does scan it just to confirm that something a bit weird is going on, and the 3rd and 4th gases are taken as well now. So I do wonder, is Reynor going up to spy a tank here, which obviously Reapers don't shoot up? That'd be pretty nifty.
Yeah, I mean, some of the Marine production is beginning now for Ziggy, but it is definitely going to be on the later side, considering, there's only 3 of those barracks. There's no add-ons or anything finished up just yet, as I think maybe the first tech lab is finishing up there on that first barracks. So it's going to be pretty difficult to deal with something like that with the Spire now being dropped down. We'll see. Ziggy, after you scan that Spire, or sorry, that layer, it's probably something you're going to have on your mind, right? That there could be the Mutafall up there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I mean, Ziggy, like, to be super duper fair to him, he's doing a lot of the right stuff behind all this. Like, his SV count is more than decent, actually. He's doing a good job of eliminating the creep. He hasn't been too crazy or ballsy with these Reapers either. Like, you know, a far lesser player could have dived in, killed, like, maybe a couple of drones and just, you know, ran away. But he's getting upgrades behind this as well. I actually do like the way that Ziggy's playing, even though I still feel he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah. A couple of Lings making their way forward. Maybe it looked like they were going to be able to try and intercept the Reapers as they were retreating back over to the natural, but seems like the Reapers are actually going to get into a nice defensive spot over there and actually end up avoiding all the Lings entirely. But missile turrets are already getting started up before the Spire is finishing. Overlord is going to spot this out, so I wonder if that's going to affect how many mutas Reynor makes, but no, it looks like you went for a 2-base Spire. You got to do something with them.
You definitely do. Okay, this is when I'm a bit scared for Ziggy, and that is a lot of Lings. Oh, just flying everywhere, though. I got to tell you,
yeah.
Ziggy's definitely good with his grenades.
Yeah, very, very slippery Reapers over there. Doing a great job just avoiding the full surrounds, but down creep a little bit dangerous. The Lings are going to back off, though. And here are the mutas. Finally going to be able to actually take care of quite a few of these Reapers. I love this split up over here. It's slowing things down. Most of the Reapers will still die, but it just takes a little bit longer to actually catch them. Reynor actually does a nice job of splitting out the mutas from the Lings to get the remaining ones, but now the mutas make their way across the map. There's already a handful of Marines, and I remember, yeah, a lot of missile turrets are built.
Okay, so this is when I'm always a bit like, so what do those Reapers actually achieve? I look at the resources loss tab, and I'm like, yeah, not all that much. We can go for like indirect damage and stuff, but Zerg, he's going to start taking his 4th pretty soon. He is behind in upgrades, but there's one unit that doesn't really give a damn about upgrades, and that's the Baneling, which it's going to be a bit tricky for Ziggy to like move out, because now he needs to get like a 4, he needs to get Widow Mines, he needs to get tanks potentially, like he needs to get a whole array of everything. And I mean, when you do go for that many Reapers, it's a lot of gas, so all of your tech is super delayed.
It is definitely going to be a tough one. We'll see how Ziggy can try and compensate for that with combat shields getting closer and closer to finishing. I mean, do you feel like this is one of those positions where Ziggy is capable of putting on any form of pressure once combat shields finishes up, or is it just you got to wait for like 2-2 and more tanks or something and more Marines?
It's so difficult, honestly. Like, look how far the creep spread's going. Reynor did a good job of using Overlord creep spread and then planting tumors on it. He's doing it again a little bit south here, I do believe. So soon, I'm not even sure if Ziggy's going to be able to take this 3rd safely, which is, it just goes to show you like why this tactic fell out of fashion. It's not necessarily just because of how nerfed Reapers got, but the strategy itself, Undeads are just so good these days.
Yeah. Oh, poor Ziggy is going to think, yeah, caught the Overlord, stop the creep from spreading over there. There's actually still a creep tumor over there. And now these Marines are getting surrounded by the Lings. The mutas here, you can't pick up the medevac either. The 3rd base also potentially going to be vulnerable, but there's no Banelings in the mix over here. Reynor still feels like he can take this on, and honestly, it looks like he's technically pretty right about it. He's taking care of every single one of the Marines. Only the siege tank remains, and that's not for long. And now the 3rd base is going to get shut down just like you were talking about, Ben. And with no Marine support, even the missile turrets are going to start going down.
This is a rough one, Ravi. This is a rough one. It's okay having Marines. It's okay having like your 2-2 almost done. But, you know, if you're just kind of putting yourself behind based on your opponent knowing you so well, yeah, GG. Reynor pretty swiftly taking the 1st game there.
God. You know, I was actually starting to get a little bit of hope there, Ben. Not like a ton of hope. You know, I wasn't like, oh man, you know, the Jedi returning or something. It was like, all right, cool, we can kill a stormtrooper or 2, and then just Reynor smacks it down, man. Like, I thought you were talking about all these things that Ziggy was doing right. He was doing a really nice job of denying the creep spread. He was keeping the Reapers alive and everything, but you kind of brought it back at the end of that. The Reapers, by the time the mutas came out and all the Reapers ended up going down, like there wasn't actually that much damage done. Reynor was doing fine at the end of the day.
I mean, Reynor did everything he had to, right? Like there was a clear sign of that he kind of knew his opponent, or even felt like so comfortable in the game that it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go pool first, like delayed hatchery and stuff. It just showed that Reynor is more knowing of his opponent. I mean, Ziggy did about as good as you could with the Reapers, given that Reynor didn't really make an error. Like, he kept them alive for way longer than he should have. But yeah, I mean, it's okay trying to cheese out Reynor or trying to do something like that, but you're going to need something a little bit better than Mass Reapers, I feel.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Well, I believe in Ziggy's ability to try and pull something out still, like maybe here or there, prove Kalar's right that he can take a game. I mean, he did manage to take one of the maps off of Denver, so I'm not sure exactly how he got that, but maybe there's something there for him. We're going to move on to Romanticide for game number 2 now. Do you feel like you were talking a lot about the map specifically of Submarine in that last game? Do you feel like that's probably what influenced a lot of like the decision alongside just knowing you're phasing off versus Reynor to try and go for like 3x Reaper?
Yeah, I mean, like the fact that there's 2 ways into the natural for Reapers, as opposed to like normal units where there's only 1, that's a big deal and makes it a lot more difficult to deal with. In TVT, it's always a good Reaper map, same against Terran versus Protoss, so it just made sense. And I mean, Ziggy, he is a guy that I think you could nerf Reapers so hard that they still would like damage went down to 0 or 1 and like their health went down to 1 as well. I think he'd still make them with how much this guy loves Reapers. But yeah, I'm looking for something a little bit different here. And I mean, worst case scenario, you go away from this matchup as Ziggy with a bit of practice, a little bit of extra knowledge, right? Which I think people often forget about.
Yeah, no, I really like that kind of mentality there. Well, regardless, guys, we're going to be starting up here at the top left-hand side of the map, top of the blue Zerg player representing Team Clash. He is Reynor.
And spawning over in the bottom right-hand side as the red Terran, it is Ziggy. So I would love to say Ziggy has learnt from the error of his ways, but maybe not. We'll see how this one goes down.
Well, it's like you said, you're talking about oh man, I was gonna be like, you're talking about how it's like so expected, it's unexpected a little bit on Submarine. Maybe on this map, because it's not Submarine, it's not quite the same. Maybe it's a little bit less likely. Maybe Reynor won't go for the pool first this game. Nope. There's the pool for, gas pool really quick over there. Reynor is just going to have a really, really nice setup yet again to try and handle something like this.
So, this has always been one thing that I felt about cheeses. And I know, that old saying, like, the scariest thing a cheese can do is play a macro game kind of thing. Like, if you are a cheesy guy, it is so important that you have more than just one cheese in your belt. Like, because it helps so much. I remember thinking, like, some of these Cannon Rush players, their Cannon Rushes are so damn hard to hold off. If I imagine that, like, Showtime had the potential to learn one of these Cannon Rushes, and it's like, oh my gosh, he can do that as well. Like, it becomes way more freaking scary, just the variety. But yeah, when it comes down to Ziggy, I don't get to play him in TVZ all that much, but it seems like Reynor's just got such a good read on how Ziggy plays, and I know how Ziggy plays in TVT as well. I'll play that barcode that's around 6.3k MMR, and I'm like, oh, it's Ziggy. I better play defensive because this proxy 2-axes, and every single time. So it definitely feels like Ziggy's just maybe a little bit stubborn when it comes to his strategy choices.
Yeah, I like the way you're putting it also, because it is one of the big powers of potential when you are that cheesy player, you have that kind of reputation, is that you can actually use that reputation against your opponent, because it forces them to play a little less greedy. Ooh, that is a really, really nice pick-off before Zergling speed finishes on the first Reaper. Like, that's brutal. This is about snowballing. This is about building up momentum. And your first punch just got swatted out of the air so quickly. Oh, that's not a good feeling for Ziggy.
No, that was really... this is super ambitious as well. Speed is literally seconds away from finishing. Okay, I'm a little bit surprised that Reynor didn't chase there, given how close it was, but... Ziggy, he dodged a bullet. He dodged a real hard bullet right there, and we'll see what happens from this point on, because I think this isn't quite enough Lings to want to fight. I think it's more about just getting on the map and scaring Ziggy a bit. But, Reynor's making a lot of extra Lings as well. He's playing safe with this. He's going for Lair again. It feels like Reynor's got his formula for beating Ziggy, and he's just going to be safe about it, no flashy stuff, and just get along with it. Oh, Ziggy's actually going for a 4th barracks, 5th barracks.
Oh man. Are we going to get into the what I like to call the full euthermal mode, where you get an engineering bay, research +1 weapons, and just go ham on the Reapers?
I think so. Like, somebody call frickin' Morrow right now, because he's bringing 2010 back. But yeah, this is... I don't know, man. I appreciate the fact that Ziggy's doing something a little bit wet and wild here. It's just when you've already had your first Reaper fall, which, you know, you're meant to get the momentum going, as you said. It's just tough. It's a desperate situation for him.
Yeah, I think it's especially been tough because when was the last time these Reapers are even on Reynor's side of the map, really? Like, they haven't been on creep for the past minute and a half? Like, that is the first bit of damage that they've really done, because the Lings being on the other side of the map actually pulled them all the way back home this entire time until he sniped off that one creep tumor. And even after that, you see that all the Reapers are just retreating home. They're not really pushing back creep or denying anything. I think that Reynor is kind of maybe respecting them a little bit, but it's been tough. I feel like even if the Reapers are staying alive, like, you have to do something with them, right?
Yeah, and like in Ziggy's head, he's like, okay, like these Reapers sharking around, like I don't want to get caught off guard, and now he knows where the Lings are, he's going to head back and try and deal with them. The thing is, what, like, as you say, what is the actual goal here with these Reapers on the map? Like, the Spire, it's very close to being done. If you're waiting for that +1 to finish, Ziggy, you're going to run into like 8 mutas again, which is absolutely not what you want, because again, Reapers don't shoot up.
Yeah, there's maybe going to be like an 8-second window, maybe less, where one Reaper will still be alive with +1 weapons, I feel like, at this rate. So, well, the Reapers are going to start diving on in. They do manage to snipe off quite a few of the creep tumors, killing off a lot of these Lings. I mean, these are finally some good trades, but some Lings even coming in from behind, trying to get a nice surround. A handful of these Reapers are starting to fall, and there's nowhere left to run. The mutas are not even started yet, and every single one of these Reapers looks like it's going to be falling here.
Yeah, and again, we look at the resource loss tab. There's a scan in the main. It's like, oh, the lair's already done. Maybe it just finished, right, guys? Right, guys? It's like, no, there's mutas on the way now, Ziggy. This 5 racks Reaper strat then goes into a 3rd CC again with a super late factory. You know, I feel like this is almost a deja vu situation. You know, Ravi, it's just not a good one for Ziggy.
Ben, I'm gonna level with you, man. I feel like right now the reason Ziggy is going to be moving around with the Reapers and everything, but right now I think in his mind he's probably thinking, okay, so my next opponent's Bly. I should figure out some good practice partners for that one. Who's like a nice cheesy Zerg I can practice against? Because this is a, yeah, there it is.
And Reynor speed.